Join our incredible moms who have mastered the art of balancing motherhood in today's episode of We Time Convo.
My name is Debbie.
This is Liza.
Moms sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and a few hilarious anecdotes. And it all begins now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on We Time Convo. This is Debbie.
This is Liza.
And today we'll talk about extracurricular activities that we've put our kids in, and particularly dance.
Yeah, which is, I don't know how to dance. I'm a horrible dancer. I have no rhythm, which is, I think, why I put the girls in dance. So Haley, my oldest daughter, and Ava, they both did take dance classes. I think it was more of like when they're 3, it's like, let's put them in something cute, right? So they actually went to the same dancing school and they did kind of a combo of ballet and tap dancing.
Ah.
So Haley actually did it for a year or 2.
Okay.
And then Ava actually did it for 5 years.
That is quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she actually got up to the point where in ballet, she was starting point.
Uh-huh.
It was starting to get harder, but then she decided, nah, I don't really like ballet. I don't really want to do this.
Pursue it.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of dedication.
Yes.
And a lot on your body.
Yeah. Yeah. It's painful, tough on your feet.
Yes.
So, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I went, the recitals were fun. They kind of learned how to have rhythm. The tap dancing was really cute and all their little outfits. But I mean, that's pretty much the farthest they have gone into dance. Ava, now in high school, she is in the Filipino club. So she's also learned a lot of like the Filipino folk dancing,
Yes.
which I think is really nice touch of her kind of
Culture.
getting into her culture.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm hoping with all these classes that I put them through and paid for, that they have better rhythm than me. But how about you?
So typical. I'm a typical, I'm sure, mom where growing up, I wasn't put in a lot of things. The couple of things that I was put in was piano lessons. I think every Filipino kid goes through piano lessons. I quickly made it clear to my parents I did not enjoy the piano lessons. So they took me out, but kept my sister in. I did more extracurricular activities as a part of school. So when I had Vanessa, it was very clear that I was going to go ahead and make up for all the extracurricular activities that I was not put in. And I wanted to give her the opportunity to enjoy all these great things. So I put her in soccer. I put her in karate. I put her in ballet. I put her, like, the list goes on all the things that she's tried, gymnastics and horseback riding. Now, to kind of think about it, she absolutely hated soccer, but she absolutely loved horseback riding, which even to this day, she keeps asking if she could continue to do horseback riding lessons. In regards to ballet, it was probably around that age of 5 years old 4 or 5 years old, where we introduced her into ballet. And oh my God, she was so cute. I still have some pictures of her doing that. And it was cute, but she only lasted probably I want to say 6 months, maybe a year doing that before she moved into gymnastics. I think she liked trying all these different things. So I fostered that. Just probably in her cousins, actually, the reason why was her cousins were actually part of Hula, Tahitian, Lokahi group. And so I finally said, okay, let's see if you want to do that. And so she ended up doing that for a couple years, and it was great. What I really liked about it was she was part of a community. It was a very warm community, friendly, family oriented. They held performances every year. They even went so far as to also performing at the Warrior Games. So she was able to perform at one of the Warrior Games. It was beautiful. So I love that experience. She even carries it so she's no longer participating actively in that community or that dance group, but she carries it on to high school because there is a poly club there. and she actually she's actually this year is an officer.
Nice.
She joined, and she utilizes what she's learned, obviously, from those years to perform hula, to perform Tahitian, and that's something that she'll always have with her, whether or not she decides to pursue that as she gets older. I think it's just great that one of the other things was it allows her to stay active. Yeah. She like that stuff is not easy. It looks like you just move your hips here and there. No, there's a certain way that you move, and it's a great, I think, way of not just exercise, but also the community that you build around it. So that's actually something that she's even carried forward with her, like I said, in high school. So I'm actually pretty happy that I've gotten her to dabble into things. I still remind her to this day, does she want to do soccer? And she's like, no. Like, that is so not
as a
her.
joke.
Yes. Yeah. And she's like, no, not at all. But I do feel like it allows her to be expressive, and it forces her to interact with other kids, other adults. So I'm pretty happy. Even though she hasn't taken any of these things to a professional level, I never expected her to. It's just more around getting her that exposure.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's kind of where what we exposed Vanessa to.
Yeah, Ava did soccer actually as well. At the same time, she did ballet. I want to say she did that for like 4 or 5 years, and then same thing.
That's a lot.
I think she was just so like pooped out, like wasting her weekends and not really having fun, just doing this stuff. And
the one thing I remember about soccer is that stuff starts early.
It takes up a lot of your time. Like, not that, I mean, if she kept doing it, we would have
fully
gladly
supported. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you plan your weekends around these extracurricular activities.
Yeah. And even on the weekdays, right? Because they practice.
Yeah.
So I definitely have a new perspective of people who put their kids in a lot of these activities. I mean, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time, a lot of effort. I remember when we put her...
And a lot of money.
Yes. I remember when we put her in soccer and we're like, okay, cool. She gets to run around, and she was like, what, 6 years old, 5, 6 years old. And they're like, okay, the first game is going to be 7 o'clock at da-da-da-da-da. And we were like, 7 o'clock? That's like early. That means we have to leave like at 6:15.
You can't sleep in.
Yeah. And that's a weekday. So props to people who,
Yeah. Like our friend Dara, she has her girls in swim.
Yeah.
And she is doing something or traveling every single weekend. She takes them to practice. And I'm like, when do you have time for yourself? And, she puts them in camps, and I'm like, man,
it is a priority, right?
It is. Yeah.
And you kind of work your way into that schedule.
I can't imagine though. That's just so much time. But if that's what your kids love to do, and if it takes them, especially if it takes them into college and they can, get some type of scholarship around it, then it's kind of, you're investing in, your kid's future too.
Well, it's interesting because I do have like perspective. I did have a conversation with someone, and they're like, why waste your time and put your kid into these things? And it's obviously a lot of time, a lot of effort, cost to a certain extent. Why do that if you're not expecting them to like go professional? And so some people have the philosophy of like, there's really no point, which is a perspective. I personally, like I said, grew up where my mindset was, I want to expose her to different things, whether she picks up on it and pursues it for, further. That's up to not just her, but her talent too, right? Because she may want to pursue it, but she may not necessarily have that talent.
Yeah.
But for me, it was really more just getting her exposed to different things.
Yeah, just keeping them busy and seeing if it's something that they want, that they love doing, that they never thought that they would like doing at all.
Correct.
And that's, I kind of beat myself up about it, like when the girls quit stuff, because I've always been like, no, you're not quitting, you keep going. But at the same time, I didn't want to force them to do it.
So where do you find that balance then?
So I think for me, it was just kind of like, if the more I force them to do it, the more they're going to hate it and not be open to, doing things later on. I'm just kind of like happy, that I was able to afford to give them that type of exposure, like you said. And it was kind of like, I always like, let's try this thing. Let's just try this thing. But then I realized, some kids just don't like that stuff. Like, Ava's really good with art. Like, and I've always wanted, an athletic kid, but now I'm just kind of accepting of it. Like, okay, well, she's good at art. That's what she likes doing. We'll, get her art lessons or put her in art school. She loves playing the guitar, so she takes guitar lessons. So, kids love doing other things and are good at other things other than sports or dance, which is fine. And as a parent that wants, her kids to like flourish and be good at everything and be the greatest at everything, it's fine. It's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now with Violet, where are you with Violet?
So she's my last chance at having a basketball player kid. So we'll see. I'm actually thinking of putting her in basketball. She's in gymnastics now, but at this age, a lot of it's just tumbling and kind of. So it'd be great if that developed into something bigger later on, because gymnastics is it's tough, physically, mentally. So we'll see. Yeah. Again, I'm hoping that I have one kid that's really good at some type of sports. But we'll see. And again, I'm not going to beat myself up about it if she doesn't like any of that.
So is there any other sports besides gymnastics that you're looking for her to
pretty much anything. Like, I would love basketball, but of course, like soccer or even softball, just anything, because, I've always wanted to be that like soccer mom and do all the traveling. And so I guess, well, she just turned 5, so I'm kind of just going to
see where
dip
it
her
takes,
toes into some, water and see what she likes doing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Irene, how about you?
Well, let's just talk about Lena because it's mostly dance. She started around 2, which is, you're right, it's really cute, right? But when they had the recital, it was so funny. They were not really doing anything. The one kid was crying on stage, and then nobody was really, the teacher was there too, but nobody was following the teacher. It was just a mess. But the parents like, oh, it's so cute. So Alina did that, but then we moved. So I think she stopped for a moment. And then when we went swimming, the swim teacher was like, oh, why don't you do synchronized swimming? So she did
a combination of both.
Yeah. So but actually for synchronized swimming, you need to know ballet. So she did ballet, and it was actually free from the club, but you have to volunteer a lot of hours every week. It was nice. And we did it for a while. And there was one thing actually before her synchronized swimming, she did a dance. You know that one where you have those dance moms. Have you seen that?
Oh, the show?
Yeah, the show.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one that she kind of joined. And I remember Paul just keep on emphasizing, I don't want Alina to be there. I don't want to be Alina because it's really it's full on makeup, right? And sometimes for one competition, for one show, there were like 3 competitions, and she'll be in 3 different outfits, and it's expensive. Every outfit was expensive, and it's not just once a year. It's probably like 2 to 3 times a year. So it's rigorous, but I don't think she even enjoyed it. They did a show in Christmas in the Park one time too, but I just realized now what Paul kept on saying. I don't want her to focus on beauty, and sometimes it's kind of sexy for a young girl.
Well, I could tell you, and it's interesting that you bring it up because Vanessa does both hula and Tahitian. Hula is more of a slow dance, and Tahitian's more of a fast dance. And Tahitian is, their outfits tend to be a little bit more of a two-piece.
Revealing?
Yeah. It's a little bit more revealing. And there's a lot of hip swaying with both dances, but much more so with Tahitian. So I do know that there is a perspective where it could be construed as sexy, which, for like me, myself, I could see that point of view. Me as a mom, I just think it's great that she's performing, she's enjoying, she looks beautiful in her costume. The girls look all beautiful in their costume. And I think when you're younger, when it's younger girls, it's probably not as relevant. But when they get to that cusp of young woman, it becomes starting to get uncomfortable for guys. And I know it was uncomfortable for some of the men in my family because they were at this point where they were no longer like kids. They were like young women.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of them were like, I could see like as they performed, some of the guys were kind of looking a different way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just it for them. It was a little uncomfortable.
I watched that performance. It was so beautiful. All the three girls are beautiful. It was mesmerizing to watch. But yes, they were. It was sexy. It was sexy dancing in the costume, right? It's a little low, right? And you just have a bikini top. But it's for me, of course, I didn't feel anything. But I guess for a guy, of course, it could be with the hip swaying.
Yes. So there's always been that controversy. I think some people don't have that, and we've had this discussion with some of the guys. Some of the guys are just like, oh, well, you know, they don't see it, but in other guys, they do admit it's a little uncomfortable. You know, some of the dads get uncomfortable because it's like, this is my daughter, and like, you know, they're performing, and obviously I know other guys are looking, so it becomes uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but then again, you know, there's no, I don't know, like to me, I just look at it as they're performing. It's a dance, you know, it's beautiful.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, it's a cultural
that's
thing.
What they wear.
So, you know, I do know that it does come up where it is a little uncomfortable. Yeah. So, but I don't know what the answer is. You know, like, oh.
But the Tahitian is more vibrant, energetic, right?
Yes.
Less uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do know that tends to be something that does come up, especially in that when they do perform. When they're younger, it's super cute.
Did they perform in school?
They do perform in school.
No.
They do perform in school. They do both Hula and Tahitian. We actually just watched them do it on their Winterfest. It's a total performance of all these clubs. They perform different dances. And it's great. It's great to see that. But guys, just keep yourselves in check.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess the question is, when do you stop pushing extracurriculars?
So here's my thing. I don't think I really stopped. One of the things that I told Vanessa when she got into high school was my expectation was obviously to have, you know, good grades. And when I say good grades, I'm like A's. And definitely if you're not doing anything extra, there definitely should be straight A's. But let's say, for example, you have other activities. Then I could kind of understand why you didn't get an A, because you have other things going on. So because of that, she made a point to always be in some kind of activity.
It kind of outweighs each other.
That was my way of saying, like, look,
You get busy. Yeah.
be busy. Because if you're busy, then I can understand why your grades aren't straight A's. But if you're not busy, you definitely should be getting straight A's. So
Does that apply to college?
So I don't know. I sometimes the more as each year goes by, I feel like I get tired and more tired to the point of like, it's now your life. You know, like if you decide you want to be a bum, then go be a bum, but I can't support you anymore. Which, you know, I do think she has a good head on her shoulders. So I'm hoping she won't be a bum, but I'm too tired. Yeah. I'm getting too tired. I mean,
she's the one that's going to have to live with that's her life. She's the one that's going to have to live with the consequences, right?
Well, and I had her when I was older. Like I was in my 30s when I had her. So now I'm kind of tired and I'm like, I don't have this energy.
Yeah.
So
what's the update for Vanessa?
So Vanessa, she hit a milestone earlier this week. she got her driver's license.
Yay! Congratulations, Vanessa.
So we were super happy for her. She wanted to drive literally that day on her own, and I said, nope, not yet.
Yep, that's what Alina did. When she got her driver's license, are you going to school by yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
There and then.
So we said, look, you got your driver's license. Let us digest this. She's like, what? You guys aren't going to let me drive? Like I have my license now. And I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable right now with you driving. Let me just digest it. We need to put you on your on the insurance, which we ended up doing that same day. And we gave it a day. And then yesterday was her first time driving by herself.
Exciting.
To school, yes. She drove herself to school.
Is it the same anxiety when you're in the car or out of the car?
Actually, I have more anxiety in the car
Yeah.
than out of the car.
Okay.
But I do worry because then I'll check to see. I did tell her, we both did tell her that right now, just get comfortable driving by yourself. So there's 2 restrictions that they have once they get their license under the age of 18. The first restriction is they can't drive with a minor. The second restriction is they can't drive between the hours of 11 p.m. to I want to say 5 a.m. So those are her 2 restrictions. I told her, so she kind of wanted to you mean I can't drive my friends? And we're like, no.
Yeah.
No.
No.
That's a big no.
You have to wait a year.
Yes. And I was like, no. So she's a little bummed about that. But I have to stay on top of her because, kids, they lie. So I just have to remind her, I'm like, look, I don't want to take the responsibility of driving someone's child, you know?
In case something happens or...
Yeah.
Is she the first of her friend group to get a driver's license?
No, she has a couple of friends that also drive. But they all, they all like to get together.
Yeah.
So I told her, as of right now, my comfort level is driving from home to school, school to home. And yes, you can go to certain people's house if it's around the neighborhood. But other than that, and then tonight, she drove to her best friend's house, which is within the neighborhood, 10 minutes away, I would say. And she's going to drive home tonight.
Nice.
But it's going to be at nighttime. So that's going to be the first time that it's going to be at night that she's driving by herself. So I told her, please just be safe, be careful. But yeah.
I have a friend who actually just bought her daughter one of those little Chevy charging cars. And it will tell her if her daughter is driving over a specific speed limit.
Ooh.
She can shut the car down from a specific time. There's a camera in there so she knows if there's someone else in the car with her. It's great. She'll look at her phone. She's like, oh, she's driving over 60 right now. So she'll call her. You can set specific parameters. She's not allowed to travel more than 20 miles away from home. Ooh. So I thought
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was great. Thank you for listening. And thank you for, sorry I'm a little quiet today. I'm just a little hungover, but you'll probably hear more of me next time. All right. Are we closing out?
Yes.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.